right, yeah. Welcome back to Gilbert. It's all about the media podcast season 2. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be back. I know where I left things off. There's a lot of things that I didn't get a chance to watch and review. But yeah, I'm back and I'm going to talk about things I missed in 2022. Obviously, I couldn't get through everything, and I'll talk about them later on at the end of the video or at the end of the podcast. But if y'all are watching this, I'm actually in a pretty cool, interesting setting. I'm actually in a office space in my apartment, but pretty soon I do have a studio coming in pretty soon, so I'm actually pretty excited about that. I hope you guys can actually hear better from where I'm at. There's not much of like padding to go around, so I might sound a little vibrant. I might sound a little echoey. Who knows? But yeah, it's when I left things off on the season 1 finale, I didn't talk about two things, and I actually did saw them in 2022, and I was going to cover them on the last episode. But as soon as I finished recording and as soon as I sent it out to my editor, that's when I realized, oh crap, I forgot about two things that I actually did see in 2022. Now I have to cover them, and that is first, Stranger Things season 4, and of course the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So those two I actually did see in 2022. I just forgot to mention them. So I really made sure, like, okay, when you start, do not forget, obviously, Stranger Things season 4 and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And there's not much to talk about either or, because I'm going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi first, because the thing with Stranger Things season 4 is it's going to be a lot to comprehend because of a specific song that was played in the aftermath of that song. The first one being is that Obi-Wan Kenobi, obviously great show. It really like ties everything together, what happens after episode 3, which is of Star Wars, which everyone who has seen Star Wars remembers that Obi-Wan Kenobi gave Luke to, I forgot, Uncle Owen, I remember the name, yeah. And of course, like the Organas, how they're taking care of Leia. Seeing Ian McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi, him being older as he should be, because in the very first episode of Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi looked a lot older. So the next 10 years are really going to take a toll on him. But, you see him after Order 66, he's just living a normal life. Whatever that is in the Star Wars universe, he has a job. He's trying to avoid the Jedi life. Yeah, also, sorry if I sound a little raspy. I just overthrew my voice, but I had to get started recording, so hopefully I'll last. Yeah, and then you see him overseeing Luke because he's on Tatooine. But then you also see, Leia as, she's being ridiculed because she's an adopted Organa. She doesn't know her true parentage, obviously. Yeah, and then, of course, Hayden Christensen came back as Darth Vader very briefly. And then, of course, James Earl Jones, which I believe was his last time ever voicing Darth Vader. So who knows where this is going to go? Who knows? Every episode was great. Ice Cube's son was in there. He just goes by O'Shea Jackson Jr. Okay, as I said, O'Shea Jackson Jr. Flea made some appearances in the show. And then the interesting fact is that, like, there's this, she's called the second sister in the Star Wars animated series called, I think it was Star Wars Rebels. They're called the Inquisitors, people of the dark side, who, of course, wield the Sith sabers, the red sabers. She's one of them, but however, she's undercover. She's actually on revenge because if y'all remember in Star Wars Episode 3, Anakin kills all the younglings. She survived, so she trained so that she can actually kill Darth Vader, of course, Anakin. And, of course, Darth Vader knows and sees all. Obi-Wan Kenobi was surprised that Anakin survived, and I was like, wait, what? But then I realized because he believed Anakin died on I forgot what it was called. It was a planet that was just pretty much lava. He thought Anakin burned alive. He didn't realize that Anakin was alive and Darth Vader became something different. And then in the final fight, at the end of the episode, that's when he starts to realize Anakin is truly dead. And Darth Vader, supposedly killed, like, whatever Darth Vader is to, or was to Anakin, pretty much killed him all. I don't really know how to get to the details of that because I've never looked into the details of that. But I really enjoyed the show. Ewan McGregor is such an amazing guy. They brought back the actor who played Grady in the prequel series, as well as the actress who played, I think it was Aunt Ruth in the prequel series as well. So yeah, they can't try to keep everything else as authentic as they are. The child who played Leia is also she's pretty interesting. Like she kind of makes the show a bit because you wouldn't think what would Leia be as a kid, because we've all seen her in the series, in the original series as well as the sequel series, how she grow, but remember that she's still a kid, so she'll act, not bratty, but also, I mean, maybe bratty. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, I don't think there really is a description. No. But yeah, pretty good show. And now we can go on to Stranger Things season 4, and this one's actually going to be a big one for a whole bunch of reasons. So obviously, season 4, great season, lived up to my expectations. The show has taken a different turn because we have gotten many villains in the show, but we never gotten a villain such as Vecna, which is like, it actually took me till this season to realize that every time there's a new character, I mean, every time there's a new villain, they're going to name it after a baddie from the Dungeons and Dragons universe. I don't play D&D, so I cannot relate to many D&D fans who love Stranger Things, but I never knew that every time there's a baddie, they're going to be named after, witches or whatever evil entity is within the Dungeons and Dragons universe. But Vecna being the very first well-known telekinesis, people who can move stuff with their mind, pretty much. Maybe not the very first one ever existed, but the first one to being ever recorded. It was in the Stranger Things universe. You start getting more character development from Elle trying to, be the new kid at a school that people find her, an outcast. Well, of course, his sexuality is being more and more shown that he is gay, which of course Noah Schnapp came out, I think, not so long ago. But of course, everybody loves to talk about Eddie. I actually do have a Hellfire Club T-shirt. I wear it a lot. Actually, not a lot, but I'm more wore to conventions because it just feels right, Of course, like he's the character. Of course, because let me reiterate, I didn't see Stranger Things season 4 when it came out. I actually waited a couple of months because I was working over the summer at a summer camp. Same thing with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So as soon as I stopped working, that's when I started watching them. But I already knew about like the character and that he dies. So yeah, it's kind of hard not to be spoiled. I just didn't know how he dies. That was the difference. But it does talk about, class, I don't base everything on class. I mean, I don't base everything on race. I base a lot of stuff on class. So I don't 100% believe in critical race theory. Like I do believe there's racism, but I do believe that class becomes more and more higher because class can equal to racism. That's just where I'm standing on it. But it does talk about like when, the most popular rich person everyone will believe rather than a social outcast, which was Eddie. Of course, I loved it when he played Master of Puppets. I'm a huge Metallica fan. I loved Metallica since I was about 12 years old. First song I heard was One because back then I had Guitar Hero 3 and One was played on Guitar Hero 3, which not so long afterwards, there was a Guitar Hero Metallica. Yeah, I loved it. Kate Bush is Running Up That Hill. I've never heard of that song. I never heard of Kate Bush until Stranger Things season 4, and the amount of like iTunes and Spotify downloads that song got. I mean, dang, it just makes me wonder how many gems are out there. And I don't believe Max is dead. I just think, what do you call it? I think she's like in a parallel or that playing field. Is that what it's called? Where it's like you're neither living nor you're dead. You're just stuck between and you have to choose either you're going to live again or you're either going to live or you're going to die. That's where I believe she's at. But of course, Elle would have sensed that. Kind of makes me hate the guy who took her in even further, because he was an asshole. Because he tested on One. He lied about because like One or Vecna or Henry, he murdered his mother, his sister, and put all the blame on his father. Went to a mental asylum and tried to, cut his eyes out. Which, by the way, there was a big old homage because Robert Englund played the father, and I love, anything with Robert Englund, I'm gonna love. And of course, we all knew Hopper wasn't dead because I wouldn't think they'd kill him off. And also, they spoiled it because they gave us a teaser. But the teaser showed us that, yeah, Hopper's still alive, was no surprise or anything. But the Hopper storyline, I really did love. It talks about the Demogorgon, how it came, well, not really how the Demogorgon came back, but it came back. But yeah, I'm just checking something on my phone, for those who are not seeing. But yeah, I loved it. And of course, I was told about, I saw on the internet about Master of Puppets. Because this is what I'm going to talk about. Apparently, like, it gave Metallica a boost of popularity. Like, Metallica was already big, all right? Like, Stranger Things didn't make them big. It just, introduced a little bit more people to Metallica. But of course, we live in a generation where when people do research on someone, let me just reiterate. So as soon as like people, started listening to Metallica, a new set of people were starting listening to Metallica. Some people were like digging into their past, all the stupid stuff they did in the past. And they're like, yo, these people did some pretty, shady things. I don't think we should listen to them. And there was this one girl named Serena Trueblood who took to TikTok. I don't have TikTok. And that's her, trying to cancel Metallica was one of the reasons. Because she's made so many claims that Metallica is racist and anti-Semitic, anti-Semites. What is it? Like, they always mock, drug addiction, whatever. So she made a 3-minute TikTok. And the amount of people who reacted to that, first of all, some people saw it and were like, oh, okay, I'll listen to you. Well, sane people saw it and were like, girl, you just saw a bunch of videos and photos, took them out of context. Here's what I mean. So in the first segment of the band, she says, oh, this band is very ancient, so bear with me. Basically she says, oh, this band is old and everyone who listens to them is old. So yeah, thanks for the ageism there. And then she says, starting off with the band, there's their anti-Semitism. And then she shows a picture of James Hetfield, the frontman, and Lars Ulrich, the drummer, doing a Nazi salute. Me saying that, obviously, it makes him look bad. But if you actually look at the picture, on the side of the wall, it says Berlin. And basically, in context, it says they were performing at Berlin and they were making fun of Nazism. And look, let's be honest. If you've never done okay, hold on, I should have put some content warning because some people are seeker sensitive when it comes to, the word, the Nazi word. I'm already saying it. But I was going to say is like, if you've never made fun of that salute, as some guy said it, you're lying. I've done that so many times. I've done that during the national anthem. Yes, I got in trouble for it because I was just being stupid. Yeah, they were just making fun of it. Again, she's just taking that out of context without like digging any deeper into it. And then she says like most recently the James Hetfield has been playing a guitar that has an iron cross on it because the Iron Cross used to be a neo-Nazi dog whistle. Actually, no, and even I knew that. Okay, because like the neo-Nazi dog whistles that she's trying to use, or whatever, the Iron Cross, what she was trying to explain is that, okay, lost my train of thought. Basically, people were saying like the Iron Cross isn't what it was used for in the beginning. Yeah, during World War II, that's what it was. But the Iron Cross has been around before, like 50 years before World War I. Because, give me a second, I positioned myself in a way to, all right, maybe this will help. So, as I was saying, the Iron Cross had been around like before World War I, and it's still used today by the German military, but they don't use it to symbolize Nazi Germany. So many bikers, like James is a biker. uses that Iron Cross. Lemmy from Motorhead uses that Iron Cross. All right. I like that guitar with the Iron Cross. I want that guitar that has the Iron Cross in it. I want that, like that exact replica of its guitar. To quote Mike Myers, she will be mine. Yes, she will be mine. So it's not, it's obviously it's not what she was trying to imply, but of course she's only, she only sees like, racism, Iron Cross, Nazi, whatever. And then she showed a video of Jason Newsted, one of their former bassist, of him doing a Nazi salute on stage. Again, context, they were performing in Russia, a communist country, in the 80s. That I'm questioning, but it's Metallica, so whatever. So yeah, they were performing in Russia, and at that time there was still a little bit of Nazism and fascism going around. So they were making, it was obviously him just making fun of it, and he was drunk. And also they were playing a song called Am I Evil, which, criticizes Nazism and fascism and all that. And then she talks about an incident that involved back in the 90s, Guns N' Roses and Metallica went on tour. It was successful for Metallica, but not Guns N' Roses, because if you knew back in the day, Axl Rose was not the nicest person of all. I mean, this guy had DUIs. This guy had many felony charges. He's been arrested so many times. He's gotten into fist fights with members of Metallica, like actually beat down an audience member for having a camera at a show. Like, he was not the nicest guy ever. Like now he's cleaned up, but back then, no. And she was talking about an incident where she showed a video. I guess it was Guns N' Roses' backup singer or whatever. And like apparently there was a conversation between Axl and James. Apparently they were talking about Ice-T's band Body Count. And apparently James says, like, I don't want to share my stage with an racial slur that, talks about black people. He said he didn't want to share his stage with Ice-T because he was black. And Axl Rose says, like, yeah, that's what happened. James is a racist. But again, Axl Rose was not a nice person. He was a liar. He just hated Metallica. So when you hate someone, you'll spread lies about them. But also Ice-T was also very controversial, but he wasn't that bad. But also his songs promoted violence and hate, which I'm pretty sure James did not want to, have been sung at his concert. So I'm pretty sure that's why he didn't actually invite Ice-T on tour. But this is one of those up in the air, like anything could have happened. All right, we were not there. So yeah. Then she says, like, oh, there's a racism against East Asian people. Okay, this one I laughed. Like, I laughed pretty hard. Because she got these. So there was a video of James getting like these cookies that look very slanted. He puts them over his eyes and he says, "You don't know Kung Fu." Like, okay, messed up, but also kind of funny. I'm sorry. I laughed because I have a spine. And their guitars was like, okay, bro, that's kind of too much. And I'm going to explain a lot about Kirk and Lars, their drummer. And let me see, because I wrote them down on my phone. Give me a second. Or I could just watch the video. I get a crack at watching that video so many times. So, hold on, yeah. Let's just see what she has to say. I did forgot one thing. I knew I was forgetting one thing. She shows a picture of James taking a picture with Kerry King. For those who don't know, Kerry King was the guitarist of the band Slayer. I just recently found out Slayer's no longer together anymore, so that kind of bums me out. But Kerry King, the reason why she says she thinks Kerry King is a racist, even though he has nothing to do with Metallica or James being a racist, supposedly racist, is because there's a picture where Kerry King's bald, and he has a picture of a Confederate flag, and she calls him an Aryan Brotherhood looking mother effer. And that's okay, look, back then no one puts Confederate flag equals racism as they do now. Back then, maybe a little, but they never thought much of it. until like, the 2017 white supremacy movement. Back then, you could wave that flag or wear a shirt with that flag or wear a hat with the flag. I mean, nobody's going to say anything, but also no one's ever going to point, oh, racist. And also, Kerry King, like I said, he's bald, but he was losing hair. He had his hairline was receding, so he had to shave it off. Aryan Brotherhoods shaved their head to do some, I don't know, they shaved their head to like support the Aryan Brotherhood movement. So yeah, it's scary the amount of knowledge I have. So just because somebody's bald with a Confederate flag, you can't just automatically put racist. They could nowadays they'll just be rednecks. Yeah, I knew I was forgetting something about the racist part. Yeah, I'm actually scrolling through the video. So after she mentioned about James being racist against Asian people, which by the way, no Asian person, and he uses the O word. I'm not going to say it just in case, but I did not know that was a derogatory word. But I mean, I bought ramen noodle packets that had that word on it. It's O word flavor, like whatever. I don't know. But she goes on to talk about this. This is the one part that actually does piss me off. She talks about because as I said during the 2017, white supremacist movement, a lot of metal bands and I'll talk about it. A lot of metal bands were like, oh, okay, in the metal band, there's racism is not allowed because, like I mentioned, Kerry King's not a racist because in Slayer, the frontman Tom Saraya is who's also the bassist is from Chile, and their very first drummer was from Cuba, and they're like, yeah, I know some people will be like, yo, that's not black. Well, and when it comes to like white supremacy, all that matters is you're not white, So of course Slayer's like that, and of course Metallica is like, yeah, even amongst our fans, we don't allow racism. Everyone's welcome. If you're black, you're white, you're gay or straight. And then she, for some reason, says how like he gets praised for speaking out against racism, even though at one point James says we don't care who you vote for. And she's saying, oh, yeah, you don't care how you vote for. Well, Trump supporters are supporting racist ideology. You should care who they vote. Like, no, you don't. Okay? Like, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Biden supporter. Let's put it this way. I wouldn't be happy if you voted for Trump or Biden. Really, I just wouldn't be happy if you voted in general. People have a right to who they want to support, no matter what. Like, yeah, am I going to question it? Definitely. But I'm not you. You can vote for whoever you want. All right. And he doesn't want to divide his fans. And now just because for some reason she says like, oh, he doesn't, support liberal or what. Look, they've all kept quiet about where their politics stands. Okay. Like even if James Hetfield was a conservative Republican himself, which I'm pretty sure he's not, but even if he was, that wouldn't faze me. I don't care. He's still awesome. All right. So you can't just put your own beliefs. You can't just cancel someone because they don't have the same beliefs as you do. That's not how the world works. And then she's all like, oh, by the way, they did speak about Black Lives Matter. Because if y'all remember June 2nd, 2020, and yes, I do have that post. Everyone posted on social media the black square and their support for the Black Lives Matter movement. And the members of Metallica, those who have social media, have posted it. She says all of them did, except for James Hetfield, of course. Okay, I didn't know that, and even I knew that, but a bunch of other people, and I side with them saying, a bunch of other people were like, are you dumb? James Hetfield does not use social media since 2016 because of his issues. And like I said, I was like, I didn't know that, and even I knew that. Like, I knew like James probably didn't have a social media account. Now everyone does, like, but you can't expect like someone to get social media just to, again, support your political ideology, whatever. And then she's just like, oh, and they posted it, but they didn't donate to black companies or, they're not charitable. They run a charity called All Within My Hands that feed the homeless, feed children in third world countries, provide jobs and necessities for farmers and ranchers. All Within My Hands support, which I do actually support, is a good charity. They're a charitable band. And look, here's the thing. Yeah, I posted a black square. I did not support any BLM, or I did not donate to any BLM sites, mostly because I was out of a job at the time, but also I don't have to donate BLM sites to know Black Lives Matter. Like, it doesn't take a movement to make me realize, oh, everyone's human. No, I've always known that. Like, that doesn't mean anything. All right. Like, a donation doesn't mean anything as to, let's put it this way, the heart says more than what you put into your wallet, or the heart says more than what you donate. I'm just going to put it like that. And yeah. And then she says, like, oh, and they were also mocking, like, people's drug addiction, because there's a part where there's a video she posts where, like, apparently they were making fun of Lane Staley's drug addiction. For those that don't know, Lane Staley was the frontman of Alice in Chains, who unfortunately OD'd in the 2000s. That video looked like early 90s because they still had long hair and Jason was still in the band. I don't know. Apparently some people say, like, oh, it was because they're referencing Master of Puppets because, in the lyrics they say needle worked away, never you betrayed, or Harvester of Sorrow. But then some people were like, actually, they were because, like, Lane Staley had to cancel a show that featured Metallica, and Metallica was just, like, pretty upset about it. They were not nice people back then, I'm gonna be honest. But this was the 80s and 90s, which means 30 years ago, people can change within that time frame. But she makes it sound like all this happened like 2 or 3 years ago. People can change in 2 or 3 years. Like, that's what I hate, is that, like, people think most people aren't capable of change. No, people are capable of change. All it matters is if they know they're right or wrong. If they know what they're doing is wrong, that's all that matters. And then she says they were making fun of Kurt Cobain's suicide days after it happened. I'll reiterate, that is not cool. Like, no, not. I'll admit that's not cool, but the joke, it was kind of funny because it says, like, what color were Kurt Cobain's eyes? Blue. One blue this way, one blue that way. What has 4 arms and 4 legs and works at McDonald's? The remaining members of Metallica, the remaining members of Nirvana. Not cool, but a little bit. Like, I laughed just a little bit, but also they were drunk. She didn't put that into perspective. They were drunk, and then she's like, they always make fun of drug addiction, but that when James went to rehab, that's when they started taking drug addiction seriously. Well, yeah, mental health was not pretty much common then, and no one ever thought, like, how big drug addiction can get. We always make fun of, I'll admit we can make fun of things, but once it hits home for us, that's when you realize you shouldn't make fun of it. Like, again, they changed. They're different people now, but she thinks, like, all the people, like how they were back in the 80s and 90s, they're the same person. No. Like I said, Axl Rose, a big SOB back in the days. Like, he's the reason why Slash left Guns N' Roses. But since he cleaned up, he's better now. People can change. And then the last thing she says is, they're just a bunch of old white guys from the 70s they're just a bunch of old white guys from the 80s. James is the only white guy. Okay. And that's why I said I just pay attention to what I talk about. And like earlier, Lars Ulrich is not American. Their drummer, he's not American. He's actually Danish. He's from Denmark, and he is Jewish. Kirk Hammett is Filipino, half Filipino actually. And their current bassist, Robert Trujillo, is Mexican and Native American. Like, if, Cliff Burton didn't die, because Cliff Burton was their bassist until 1986, who tragically got killed in a bus accident, and Jason never left the band, in those two scenarios, it just would have been 2 white guys and a Jewish, Danish, and a Filipino. This sounds like a very racist joke, but also, while they were finding a lead guitar at the time, they had this guy named Lloyd Grant, Jamaican, was filling in for the guitar parts until they were able to find, a lead guitarist. Metallica is not racist. All right? To this day, I still have yet to go to a Metallica concert, and I really, really want to. Yeah, this was a long one. Dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel bad for her, to be honest. Like, I feel bad for her. Like, she just didn't know what she was getting herself into when she posted that TikTok. Yeah, that's all I got for this segment. We'll be back pretty soon. All right, and welcome back to Gilbert's It's All About the Media podcast, season 2, episode 1. I had to literally think about that. Like I said, I tried to catch up with other stuff that's been happening um either last year that I haven't had a chance to catch up to. There's some stuff I still haven't actually caught up to. Like I started watching The Boys, like the recent season of The Boys and Wednesday, but I haven't had a chance to finish watching. Like I haven't finished the entire seasons of each, But from what I've been seeing so far from both shows is that they're really cool, especially because well, with The Boys, I've only seen the first like couple of episodes, so I'm not even midway yet. Everything like it's all. I mean, I love The Boys. I love The Boys. It's a really good show. I love where the story's going. That so far I'm seeing, Butcher. He's trying to take. Well, if you haven't seen the show, what's wrong with you? But Butcher is taking care of. I forgot what his wife's son. He's taking care of Homelander's son because if you remember, like his wife was sexually assaulted by Homelander. That she got pregnant, but he's trying to look after her son for her, and then Homelander's just trying to be cool in the beginning, like saying like because for those who don't know or don't remember, last season like Homelander's love interest is like was a Nazi. Like she was created during World War II, and she's been the same. Like she's looked the same since World War II, and she's a racist Nazi. Like I remember last season, like she killed a black man, same way as like if a racist cop would kill a black man, like for I don't remember what the full reason was. She just did, all right. And but then like now people are starting to see Homelander's true colors. Like it's things are coming out. People are like, this is not a superhero at all. This is a madman. And we're rooting for him. I guess to me it represents. I stray away from politics, but then for some freaking reason, people decide like, we're gonna put politics into everything Gilbert likes to watch. Of course, they're not. They're not trying to target me or anything. I'm just saying, they do it. But in a political stance here, it represents like who do we look up to politically, and how much of a big letdown they are once their true nature, their true colors are revealed. But I mean, so far, what I've been watching, it's really cool. The cast is always amazing. You do see the aftermath, like Mother's Milk. I always forget his real name, but I just remember, like, his character name, Mother's Milk. How he's dealing with the divorce and trying to co parent, and the fact that, like, his father, the death of his father was a result of Soldier Boy, played by Jensen Ackles, who we all know from Supernatural. What the effects it had on him, Dewey and Starlight's, how their relationship is doing, things that pick up from the last season. For some reason, I don't rewatch the old seasons, and I probably should just whenever the new season starts, because then you forget everyone's name. But I mean, I like it, and maybe someday I'll do a full cover of any superhero show, and I can actually talk about the series. Wednesday, I mean, that's actually really cool too. I mean, I've known about the Addams Family since I was young. I've seen a couple of episodes from the 1960s show, and of course the original actress who played Wednesday unfortunately passed away not so long ago. Jenna Ortega, again, she's really good as Wednesday. I mean, it reminds me of Christina Ricci, who is also in the show. I'm not all the way there yet, so if there's anything involved with Christina Ricci's character or any of the characters, and people are like, dude, you're not talking about this. Well, like I said, I haven't finished watching the show, but I also don't feel like not talking about what I've seen so far. So this is what you're getting, okay? I mean, what I've seen so far, it's interesting. I mean, and I know some people have criticized about Luis Guzman and damn, I forgot her name. Sorry, y'all. Every time. Catherine Zeta-Jones. All right. I didn't even have to look it up. Catherine Zeta-Jones and Luis Guzman as, Garment as Gomez and Morticia Adams, because people were so used to Juan Raul, I think that's what his name was. Juan Raul, and Angelica Houston. Oh, Raul Julia. Okay, I knew it was something close to that. But people, are still used to the Raul Julia and Angelica Houston, their Gomez and Morticia Adams. Like people are used to that. But I'll be honest with you guys, like, I mean, that is like my number one Adams, like Gomez and Morticia Adams, because I don't remember too much of the original, but I say there is still like that chemistry between, Gomez and Morticia, Luis Guzman, and Catherine Zeta Jones. Actually, Catherine Zeta Jones Douglas, because she's married to Michael Douglas. Yeah, it took a long pause. But, I mean, I have no problem with it. I like the pairing. I always said I would want to have like that Gomez and Morticia Adams like relationship with any future girl I'll have. I would love to have that relationship. I don't know why. It just seems like a relationship I would want to have. But I mean, the show's good so far. I know I said I was going to go and continue finishing up with Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. And I was planning to, but like there was something up with the Disney Plus that on my TV, like, I don't know why. It's for the best, to be honest with you guys. I don't think I would have been able to torture myself with, because what I've seen so far, guys, I couldn't, like, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to, like, as soon. I mean, okay, Miss Marvel is all right. She-Hulk, on the other hand, god damn it. Again, I've only seen 2 episodes of She-Hulk and I think 4 episodes of Miss Marvel. I just can't get through them, guys. I'm sorry. Like, don't call me a bigot or whatever, misogynist, sexist. It's not any of those things, guys. It's a more of the storyline is not coherent and interesting thing. All right. Even a lot of feminist groups who watch these shows, they don't like these shows. All right. If I ever master the strengths to watch them, I'll talk about them in probably a superhero show episode. But guys, I can't get through them. I know I said I would, but I just can't. And I guess that's the only best part about me having problems with Disney Plus is that probably saves me time to. It saved my insanity, or saved my sanity. The thing is, I didn't get a chance to watch Werewolf by Night. I don't know when I'll cover that, to be honest with you. But if I do, it has to be something that like fits with anything. So if I ever watch it, I'll think like, okay, what am I going to do for Werewolf at Night or Werewolf by Night? So I'll watch it and I'll eventually cover it. But yeah, I mean, and also another reason is, guys, because I've recently been binge watching That 70s Show, just because I binge watched That 90s Show. And I know that wasn't a 2022 show. I'm going to talk about it anyway. I liked it. I mean, I think it carried on. I believe like it carried That 70s Show perfectly. It's a perfect sequel to That 70s Show. And I like That 70s Show, but I've never seen it from start to finish. Like I've seen any episode I could find growing up when I would watch it. But yeah, I started binge watching it, from the start. But I like That 90s Show. It's weird to see Mila Kunis and Wilmer Vanderam. It's weird to see those two, like how they are when they play Jackie and Fez. It's because like ever since the show ended, those two actors, Mila Kunis and Wilmer Vanderam, has moved on and they've acted in a lot of other stuff. And I'm not saying, Topher Grace or Ashton Kutcher or to be honest with you guys, I don't even know Donna's actress. Whoever she is, I don't care. I mean, I probably should. That makes me sound like an a-hole. But, Wilmer and Mila have just done more. Topher has, of course, have done more. But to me, I'll always see, Eric Foreman. And Ashton Kutcher has pretty much played the same kind of character in any movie he's ever acted in or any show he's ever acted in. Like, he's done some serious chops. He actually is a serious guy because, he runs an organization to help young kids off the streets and, help anyone who's a victim of human trafficking. So, yeah, there's that. But Mila Kunis and Wilmer Valderrama are far different from the roles they've played in That 70s Show. So that's why it feels weird rather than nostalgic for me to to see them replay, their characters. So it's weird to see Mila Kunis. It's weird to see Wilmer Valderrama play Fez again, even though that's how we all knew them. But that's but like I said, what did I say? Ashton Kutcher's played the same kind of character. He's played the same kind of character as Michael Kelso. He's played. I'm trying to think what else, like Do Where's My Car and all that. The only thing that we didn't see in the new show is Danny Masterson, for obvious reasons. For those who don't know, apparently there's been a lot of like sexual assault charges on him, some allegations. None of the cast really, I wouldn't say they're not against him, but they're also not on his side, kind of like where I am. It's more like we got to see more evidence to see, like, is he really guilty, Like, I'm not going to be biased and be like, oh, he's totally innocent. But I'm also going to be like, I can't prove it either, Like, his wife has been on his side. His family has also stayed silent. So, but Netflix didn't want to take a chance. So they're like, yeah, we can't have you back on the show. I'm pretty sure he was understanding. And like, he's just trying to live his life the way it is, in case like, the allegations are 100% true and he might actually will go to jail for what he did. Like, his situation is different from Andrew Tate's situation, because with Andrew Tate, it's kind of obvious, to be honest with you. Like, he's misogynistic. He's a complete douchebag. Like, it's no surprising that, Andrew Tate did what he did. So, yeah. But Danny Masterson, on the other hand, he hasn't really done a lot. He hasn't done a lot. So that's why I'm a bit skeptical. That's why I'm a bit like, I don't 100% believe it. So, but That's 90 Show, it's really cool. I love that, we actually see that Michael and Jackie have a son. We see characters that kind of resemble, the old group. But yeah, I think I'd rather cover this now than having to wait a year and forget like what I did with Stranger Things. What else? Stranger Things and Obi-Wan Kenobi. But yeah. And I didn't get a chance to watch Andor, so unfortunately I haven't seen that yet. But there's always going to be a Star Wars episode down the road. So of course I'm going to be covering that, especially with The Mandalorian Season 3 out. But yeah, I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Gilbert's It's All About the Media podcast. So I almost thought about this, to be honest with you, but I decided, like, originally I was going to do like, okay, cover what I can mainstream wise in one episode, and then do like, okay, in horror, what did I miss in another episode? But I was like, nah, I think I'm just going to merge the two, I want to get this done quickly as possible. But first, I'm going to say this. It took me actually a year to watch Scream, the new Scream movie. I'm not actually going to cover it right now because of the upcoming Scream 6 is actually be coming out, I believe, the week when I get this uploaded. So right now, as I'm recording it, it's a week. It'll be a week later, but when I plan on getting this out, the week of. So if that kind of makes any sense. Basically, I'm recording on this the Friday before Scream 6 comes out. So that way, like when I watch whenever I watch Scream 6, I will cover the entire series, because I don't know if there's going to be even more after that. So I did watch Scream 5 or Scream, because it's doing the requel thing. So for those who don't know, a requel is basically like a straight up sequel to the original, ignoring all the other events that happen, even though in canon they did happen in the Scream franchise. It was actually a really good movie. I liked it. I guess I'll do the entire horror segment right now. I'm just trying to think what movie I should cover first. I guess I'll do Orphan, because it's not going to be that much to talk about. Orphan First Kill. First of all, title is very misleading because she's killed before the events of Orphan First Kill. For those who don't know, Orphan First Kill is a prequel to The Orphan. And if we all know by now, I mean, guys, it was 2009 since the first film came out. You already know, like, she's not a little girl. She's a grown-ass woman, and she's just masquerading as a little girl because she's got a syndrome that, stops her from growing and aging. So, people were like, okay, well, how are you going to do this now? Well, apparently, like, So how it goes is pretty much she gets taken in by a family that she escapes the mental institute. She finds a link to missing kids, and apparently she finds a little girl that resembles her, which is Esther, because her real name is Lena. She's posing as a missing girl named Esther because they share a bit of resemblance. She goes to Russia. I don't know how she went to Russia because she's in Estonia. She pretends to be that she was kidnapped and was taken to Russia. And now that she contacted the family of Esther, and then of course she pretends to be Esther for I don't know how long she was going to keep this up. To be honest with you, Dad is thrilled. So the mom and the brother somewhat thrilled because there's something going. Like either they know like Esther is not Esther, like they feel like something's up. And then as time progressed, we eventually find out that the real Esther is dead because of a scuffle that happened with the brother. No one knows what really happened. Apparently, they believe the brother accidentally threw her off the staircase because that eventually comes back later on in the movie. But the mother and the brother hid the body, into making it think it was a missing, like a child missing. But the dad didn't know anything about it. The dad is played by Kiefer Sutherland, not Kiefer Sutherland. He's a Sutherland. He's just not a famous Sutherland, But he is a Sutherland. Like he doesn't know what's been happening behind the scenes. So pretty much towards the end, Esther kills the wife and the son, and she tries again to seduce the pretty much almost how Orphan, the original one, went. The dad discovers in a bit of a scuffle, he accidentally falls to his death. Yeah, I mean it's an alright prequel. There are some twists that came out. Like twist is, of course, the mother and son always knew, like, yeah, this was not Esther at all, because for obvious reasons they killed her, and they killed the original Esther, and they found a perfect opportunity for for the dad slash husband, to not be upset anymore. And like I said, it was I would say it lived up to the first film, but I was not a big fan of the first film, to be honest with you. It's an alright movie, not something I would ever keep going back to and watch it over and over again. That one, and then Smile, which is that movie, it scared the hell out of me. Smile, which is a movie about a therapist who saw her patient kill herself while she was smiling. Because the movie's based off a short film that the director made while he was in film school, and it's pretty much the same thing. The story goes is that someone will see someone kills himself with a smile on their face, till about 4 days later to nearly a week, the person will go mad and eventually do the same thing, but they have to kill themselves in front of there's this entity feeds on trauma. Like its victim has to kill his or herself. And since we're living in 2023, I guess I'll say their self. The person has to kill, themselves in front of another person so that the curse can affect on them. So she sees this girl kill herself, but this girl also witnessed this professor kill himself right in front of her. So there's this pattern going on, and you just see her start to lose it. Like there's a scene where apparently she accidentally packed her dead cat for her nephew's birthday party when she thought she packed a locomotive train, because apparently her nephew loves trains. But you also deal with it does deal with the effects of trauma, because when she was young, she witnessed her mother OD, and she didn't call the police because she didn't love what her mother was doing. Her mother was a drug addict. Yet it brings awareness to mental health and drug abuse. So I commend it for that. I do love elevated horror, which is what it's called, where sometimes they have a meaning towards it. Of course, the ending it's not a happy ending. She eventually succumbs to the entity, and she kills herself in front of her ex-boyfriend, and pretty much it. Because people want a sequel, and I kind of do as well. Because we already know how it goes, and we want to know what's really going to happen to her ex. Is he going to now fall under the same curse as the entity has, or because of all the knowledge that he knows while like trying to dig deeper into what's been going on. Because her boyfriend's also a cop. Her ex-boyfriend is also a cop. So like he was digging deeper into the investigation, and we did find out eventually that like the only way to get rid of it is to kill someone in front of someone. So the witness will receive the curse rather than the person who. I don't think I worded that right. So if a person has the smile curse and doesn't want to kill his or herself, and again, we're in 23, so their self, that person can kill another person right in front of another person, and the person who witnessed the murder will receive the curse, and thus far. It sounds weird when I'm not good at explaining, y'all, so forgive me for that. But it's a creepy movie. So there's that. The Black Phone, another film I missed that I actually got to see. This girl who I know, who I worked with, she's like, "Oh, the movie, it's such a bad movie, whatever." You know, when I watch the movie, all I can just say is she's just very secret sensitive, because the movie does deal with domestic abuse and child abuse, because the main character is the boy who gets kidnapped, lives with an abusive father who's an alcoholic. But like, she has her opinions, but again, she's secret sensitive, because we do see like the father hit a little girl with a belt. And that's just because like the main character has a sister who is apparently a psychic, and apparently like her mother was a psychic and eventually drove mad and killed herself, which is why her dad's pretty much like, I don't want you to talk about your visions. Your visions are dreams and all that. And, you know, grief can make you do stupid stuff, such as being an alcoholic, be distant from your, from your family. So I'm not trying to say give sympathy to the dad, but also that's human nature. Performances are good. Ethan Hawke, brilliant. Dude, I love Ethan Hawke. And I will talk about Ethan Hawke again, because you probably might know what I'm going to be talking about. Ethan Hawke is brilliant as a character. You know, you see like this boy who's been kidnapped. He's getting messages from a black phone. By the way, this film takes place in the 70s, so that's why you won't see anything that involves modern technology. So like he's relying on like the spirits of past victims, saying like, hey, this is what I try to do. Maybe you can do it, whatever. Yeah, it's a bit unsettling to watch. There is a character in there played by James Ransone, who I feel like is unnecessary. He's pretty much in there just to get killed. Like, for those who don't know who James Ransone is, he played the adult Eddie. He also played the cop, or I think he's a cop, or PI. Like, he came out in the Sinister movies. You know of him. But like, I feel like he's just there, just to get the purpose of being killed. Like, pretty much that's what it was. Yeah, and this was actually, I didn't know this. This was a book written by Joe Hill, not Jonah Hill, but Joe Hill. He is the son of Stephen King. So now you know where, the apple doesn't fall from the tree now, does it? Yeah, it's an interesting film. Probably not the best of horror film. Next, I'm going to talk about Barbarian. That movie, that's the most messed up movie I have ever seen. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. I've seen a lot of messed up horror films. I've heard of a lot of messed up horror films. This one, it's because the thing is that there's a theme about like incest and inbreed. That part I can't deal with, because there's this like woman all deformed, because apparently like she's a product of like multitude of inbred. How would I say this? Like her daddy is, put it like this way, her daddy, her grandpa, and her great grandpa all at once. Like that's pretty much how I can explain it. I'm assuming, because like somebody says like she, like the guy, like her father or whatever, kidnapped women, raped them to get pregnant, and then eventually down the road he will eventually rape the kids, and then rape the kids. Like, yeah, it's really messed up. And I know some people were like, wait, what movie are you talking about again? I didn't get to the beginning. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling. But if you remember, it stars Bill Skarsgård in, damn, I forgot her name. It has Justin Long in it too. Like, her name is not as big as like Skarsgård and Justin Long. But let me give me a second, folks. Georgina Campbell. Okay. If you don't remember, it's about a woman who rents an Airbnb. And then she goes down to the cellar and eventually discovers some stuff down there. It takes place in Detroit. It's a nice house within a bad neighborhood. And of course, she discovers everything, the deformed woman. It's a messed up movie. It's really messed up. In the beginning, you think like Bill Skarsgård's like behind all of this, but apparently he's just another victim as well. And Richard Brake is in there. He played, I think he's got the Ice King in Game of Thrones. I have never seen Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, y'all. He's done some other work too. Like he plays like the one. His name is Frank, and apparently I found out it's referenced as to Frankenstein. Remember, Frankenstein created a creature that was so horrid that even he was afraid of it. So Frank apparently was afraid of what he created. Well, I mean, he started all this in the beginning. I mean, this is a multi-generational incest person. Like I don't want to put that in y'all's head, and I'm already putting it in my head, but that's pretty messed up. I'm not saying it's a bad film, but it's also like you really gotta stomach it. But yeah, that's pretty much all the horror films that I've missed. I didn't see Bodies, mostly because I wasn't interested in it. Maybe I'll watch it eventually, but I heard it's really good. But I don't know. I didn't know too much about it. Yeah. But yeah, I got one more segment to talk about, and I'll be back. All right, welcome back to Gilbert's All About the Media podcast. Final segment, The Northman. Man, that was actually a really good movie. I really, really enjoyed The Northman. I've always wanted to see it because, Robert Eggers is an inspiration to me. For those who don't know, Robert Eggers, he only directed 2 films before The Northman. He directed The Lighthouse and then The Witch, which is to me, like, I would believe, fighting for top, like, number 1 with next to Halloween, which is like 2 different kinds of horror films, but still, I mean, I really love that film. The Northman, it takes inspiration from an actual Norse mythology. I think it's about the story of a guy named Amalas. It's a type of Hamlet storyline, but actually, this story takes place. Actually, this is the story that actually inspired Hamlet. And somehow, if y'all do not know the story of Hamlet, it's always like the story of like basically father is killed by brother, son grows up to seek revenge against father's killer / uncle. It took me a while to word that out. I almost said it like son must now kill uncle / stepfather, something like that. And usually like the mother doesn't know until probably like when the son grows up and realizes, oh, okay, like this is what really happened to, the king, her husband. So basically, story goes is like Amalas, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Amalas is a young boy. His father, played by Ethan Hawke. As I mentioned, Ethan Hawke has had a hell of a year because of this. Moon Knight. I don't even remember if I covered Moon Knight on the last episode. Moon Knight and The Black Phone. I almost forgot about it, and I just covered it. So those three projects he's done. He's had a good 2022 career, or just a good 2022. But anyway, yeah, Amalas witnessed his father get murdered by his uncle. His kingdom was taken over, kidnaps his mother, and then he leaves for safety because they were going to kill him. And then sometime later he becomes this, there's a word for it. I cannot pronounce it. But it's basically like you're a Viking warrior and you like unleash your inner wolf or something. I don't like you actually wear a wolf's clothing. Like I can't really put the words into it. It's like I tried digging into it. It's just weird. But I didn't care. The movie was awesome. But older Amalas is played by Alexander Skarsgård. He's a very cool actor. Bill Skarsgård's older brother, not the oldest, but he played it's funny because he played a character named Eric Northman in True Blood, which is a really awesome show until, the last couple of seasons. But the character was a Norse, like he was a Viking before he became a vampire. I'm very now convinced that the Northman is a prequel to True Blood's character of Eric Northman. I'm convinced that's a prequel right now, just because the way it ends. I'll talk about the way it ends. But as I mentioned, he grew up, became this weird Viking wolf warrior. He pillages a village like all Vikings do. And then he hears that his uncle lost the throne to some famous Viking king that actually existed, but they never show the conflict. But he has become a well respected farmer in the area. So what he did was he disguised himself as a slave. The only one who can tell that he's in disguise was Anya Taylor Joy, because it was her village that he pillaged. So she knows like he's up to something because he's pretending to be a slave. But yeah, he goes home and sees everything, pretends to be a slave, and then eventually discovers a sword that for some reason can be only open, can be unsheathed. Unsheathed means like you take it out from the sheath, which is the holster for the sword. Why am I explaining this? Basically, it cannot be held in sunlight. It has to be held in moonlight. I don't know. Like, so again, Norse mythology, I do not know anything about. He also but anyway, he goes back and he sees that his mother bore another son. Was his uncle? Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. That's her brother-in-law. No incest there. Okay, pretty much what everyone would say. I mean, it's not really I'm not putting into this. I'm not gonna think of it. He pretty much did what he was set out to do, to avenge his father, kill his uncle, and save his mother. And of course, on the lines, he fell in love with Anya Taylor-Joy's character. But he eventually discovers that the ruse was actually planned by his mother. And that's like an interesting twist, because like usually the mother in a Hamlet story, she doesn't know that her brother-in-law kills her husband. So like she didn't know, brother killed brother. But in this story, she initiated it, and the uncle said like Amalas would eventually grow up and avenge him. So she gave her permission to have him executed too. And that the son they bore was, she said, born of true love, because apparently Amalas was born of rape. Like apparently, like Amalas' father forced himself upon his mother. So yeah, I wouldn't say not the best. You really want to know who to side for, if I'm explaining it like this, but the mother's evil. Let's just put it that way. The mother's evil, the uncle's evil. After finding out all of this, he's like, it's not worth it anymore. So he kills his cousin. He gets captured. He's apparently freed by Odin, and him and Anya Taylor-Joy's character, they eventually decided to be like, we can't continue with this. So they decide to leave. But he gets a vision. He knows that she is pregnant, and that because now that she carries heirs to the throne because they're twins, he's like, my uncle will continue to hunt us. Thus far, our children are no longer safe. So goes back, kills pretty much the entire army, frees all the slaves. I am rambling so much how much I love this movie, am I? Frees all the slaves. And then he was going to kill his uncle, but he accidentally killed his little brother and his mother. And it's funny because he said, like, I don't kill women. Well, he just did. So him and his uncle decided to fight at Hell's Gates. I thought it was pronounced Hell's Gates, but it's Hell's Gates. It's Norwegian, or Swedish, whatever. Also, I know some of y'all forget this, but the Skarsgårds are Swedish. They're not American. They just, because when you hear Swedish, you think, oh, I am Swedish. Yeah, no. They sound American or Canadian, depending on how you would perceive it. But yeah, they're Swedish, so the accent, obviously, Skarsgård can do. I think Willem Dafoe is also Scandinavian, how he was able to pull off a pretty interesting Scandinavian accent. Did I forget to mention Willem Dafoe's in this movie? Willem Dafoe's in this movie. So was Anya Taylor-Joy, who, of course, we all know previously worked with Eggers, The Witch, and The Lighthouse. But anyway, back to the end, they meet at Hell's Gates. Hell's Gates. They fight butt-ass naked with the sword and the shirt. Guys, get that stuff out of your head. They just fight until Amalas beheads his uncle, but towards the end, the uncle stabs Amalas severely, and he dies and is taken to Valhalla, but he sees a vision of, Anya Taylor-Joy's character, Olga, apparently that's what her name is, was their twins, knowing that now there's his heirs are going to live on. So as much as I wanted him to live, I knew that was going to happen because, except for the Lion King, anytime there's a Hamlet story, the prince is going to die. Like, that's pretty much how it goes. The uncle will die, the mother will die, and the prince will die. You know, that's how the Hamlet story goes, except there is no to be or not to be. And I wanted to see Pearl. I did. Because after seeing X, and again, I know people are going to judge me for seeing X because it is about a bunch of guys, a bunch of people who make an adult rated film and they get slaughtered for it. But from what I've seen, I mean, Mia Goth, who is in a relationship with Shia LaBeouf, she scares, like, just from the clips of Pearl, she freaking scares me as, like, because if you don't know, Mia Goth plays two characters. She plays Maxine, I think that's what her name is, the main character in X, and an elderly Pearl. And now we get a prequel to the elderly Pearl when she was young, again, played by Mia Goth, what drove her to insanity. I'll watch it, but I'll probably never cover it, to be honest with you. I'm only covering the, what do you call it? Just what I've seen online. But I know there's a lot of other stuff I didn't talk about, but that's because award season is happening right now. And as soon as I get this out, the Oscars are going to happen. So the next episode, I will cover this past award show. And I haven't seen all of the Best Picture nominees or all of the acting nominees or those snubs. Films that didn't get nominated for any recognition. So I am going to cover the rest. And that'll cover all the stuff I missed out in 2022. I mean, I already did cover Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I don't mind covering it again. I'll cover it again. I actually do love that movie. But I will tell you that, like, I can't see everything, guys. I'm just one guy. I'm just one man. I don't have the time nor the money. I mean, I'm saving my money wisely as I should be. It's just that I can't be going out and seeing every movie out in theaters. Like, I will have to wait until at least one of the streaming platforms, airs it. I do my best to try to, see as much as I could, and if I should ever cover them, I'll cover them. But I'm not up to date with everything. Yeah, that's about it. You guys, thank you for sticking by with me for the opening of season 2. Can't wait to continue. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you, or day, whichever you're listening to this.